looking at Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun or moon predictions for 2025 and 26, maybe beyond as well, actually. And I hope this video will help you prepare for the years ahead. These are big changes, so I would recommend listening to till the very end because there's a lot to unpack here. And if you need any help, for example, with your own personal chart, then actually I'm offering a 50% discount. Christmas is at the corner. Christmas is about giving. So I decided to give all my readings, webinars, courses on 50% off right now. So if you are interested, check it out. I've got loads of courses and webinars, for example, on all levels. So if you're a beginner, don't worry, you can find your stuff there too, as well as intermediate or advanced students. Now, and also please show your gratitude by liking the video, making a comment on it. Also, share the video with others, for example, who has got Capricorn interest in their own chart, because this might be helping them as well. It would be much appreciated. So let's get started with 2025. I mean, are you not happy that Pluto finally left your rising sign, right? And maybe it's a little bit of a breather for you, but it doesn't mean that Pluto has not kind of, has finished with you. It still has got things to say to you, especially because we've got this Pluto and Mars opposition happening this year, especially in the first 5, 6 months of the year. And Mars is the exalted ruler of your rising sign. So this is actually important. Let's look at that. First of all, Pluto is going through your second house while Mars is in your eighth house. So what does that mean? First of all, it means that you're going to have to start kind of like having a strategy how to create financial abundance for yourself. Maybe you need to be doing a bit of a spring clean. There are some outdated belief systems there in connection to your finances. You believe that you don't have the talent. You believe that, I don't know, you are not meant to be rich and all this type of stuff. So this time around, you're going to have to be able to get rid of, for example, old assets in your life that are not serving you, or old mindsets, or maybe you need to be transforming your own self-worth. Now, the second house is kind of like a business house as well at the same time. So this would definitely talk to you about developing certain type of abilities and skills so that you can take your business further. Many of you will have Pluto potentially in the 10th house or even the 11th house. So most of you are going to be about transforming your long-term goals as well as your career. A lot of you will change a new career path as well with this Pluto. And maybe it's the realization that I need to have better skills when it comes to technology, AI, internet related or based work, and so forth. Maybe there is a need here to reflect on your expenditure, what you do for a living, or even how you support yourself. And the support is not just about physical support, but it's an air sign. So this could really talk to you about mental support, even emotional support as well at the same time. So Pluto is trying to transform your relationship in connection to money, finances, assets, skills, self-worth, and so forth. And the most important part is that Mars is there, who is kind of a little bit impatient. It wants things done to be quick, even though it's retrograde, but that's the nature of Mars. But the transformation will just happen or unfold for you gradually. So this is about healing the money roots as well. So maybe you have been born with a poor mindset, especially if Saturn is connected to your fourth or sixth or eighth or 12th house, for example. It means that you're going to have to heal the roots in connection to how I think about money. Yeah, some of you might be in debt, for example, struggling to pay the rent, struggling to pay the mortgage and all those type of things. So what can I do with that, right? And then Pluto is coming here, maybe providing you a solution, or maybe you feel completely defeated. Now, both of them are highly possible. Now, the second house is material stability. but also your value system could be changing here as well. This is the most stubborn houses of all. So often we get stuck in here. And Pluto is coming to try to unstuck you. So this is the house of building. You're going to have to build on your existing skills and abilities. So it even comes with a bit of a kind of studying. Now, one of the first questions is that what has gone down or what went down back in 2020, 21, because until 2023, because Saturn has started kind of like paving the path there for Pluto. So if you had financial challenges and then you haven't done much about it, you kind of got stuck, then Pluto is going to be actually intensifying this. It's going to be kicking your butt, basically. If you started, for example, a business venture, especially connected to telecommunication, online fields, AI, and all those type of stuff, actually Pluto can bring you kind of like financial gains, especially because it's going to be having a trine to Uranus as well in the sign of Gemini. And of course, Gemini is um, connected to social media and in a way sales and all those type of stuff. So that's actually cool, in my opinion, at least for you, right? And oh, by the way, Gemini is your 10th house. Sorry, I'm saying wrong. That's your sorry, hold on. Sorry, Gemini is your sixth house cusp. So that is connected um to your work environment. So it really feels like that maybe you have got the chance here to provide certain type of service industries to others. Maybe the sixth house is actually about testing Uranus technological matters. So you're testing whether you can utilize those in your own business and so on. So I think Pluto can be your best friend if you have done the work already in the last 3, 4 years. Now, what else is going down for you, Capricorn? I think Pluto is one of the biggest changes for you. And remember, Pluto has given already some signs what to expect from this, because Pluto shifted into the sign of Aquarius or shifted into the sign of Aquarius the very first time in 2023, the beginning of the year. Yet it went back into the sign of Capricorn, but the final movement happened a couple of months ago, to be precise, in November. Now, another big shift that is happening for you this year, and that is actually Jupiter. And Jupiter is in your seventh house, especially from the second part of the year. Currently, it is still in the sixth. So that is interesting to me because, again, what is happening that Jupiter is kind of like paving the path for Uranus. So what are we meant to be doing with Jupiter in the sixth? Well, for example, um, you need to be somehow making beneficial connections with coworkers, with people you work together with. When I'm talking about working together, maybe it's kind of like not necessarily kind of like together, but we are kind of not necessarily business partners again, but maybe we work in the same building. But also, this has wanted you to teach yourself about routines. So, for example, whether I go to the gym every single day, or I am working on certain type of self-improvement, because one meaning of the sixth house that is not necessarily as much known is something to do with crisis in identity. So if we don't figure out who we are, what we enjoy doing, if we're not taking care of our physical body, if we are not taking care of our health, then actually it could bring certain type of crisis situations. And it can feel like that all the details are kind of like cramping on you. But also, it is telling you that you need to be able to handle details, information, and so forth. You need to be able to connect the dots to be able to do a good job. This is also a house of skills. Earth houses are connected to skills. So this is also about the discovery of your own skills as well. Maybe you find very good connections with coworkers, as I said, and then they are going to be able to give you meaning somehow of the work that you do or certain type of different perspectives and so on. Especially if you are in the service industry, this could really talk to you about how to promote that restaurant or holistic health, or I don't know if you do army work or teaching even. Um, so you're gonna have to be able to make better connections. This could have talked to you about, for example, having to hire people who are going to be working for you, because eventually, once Jupiter moves into the sign of Cancer, your seventh house, potentially actually there could be an increase of clientele as well. So, improvement in your working environment. Now, if we haven't done the improvements in the working environment, unfortunately, this could talk to you about issues, for example, with employees who are going to be leaving, ending their contractual agreement, and so on. And you're going to have to kind of catch up with nurturing all those contacts that we have. Or for example, imagine that while Jupiter has gone through or is going through your sixth house, and then you do not enjoy the work that you do, then unfortunately, this could indicate that you are going to be ending up looking for a new job while Jupiter is in the seventh. But maybe it is not necessarily easy to find contractual agreements because Jupiter will be opposing you as well at the same time. And Jupiter, on top of that, is the ruler of your 12th house, which could represent certain type of losses, sorrow, and grief. So the grief and the sorrow becomes more visible in the seventh house because that is seen by others as well. That's a very visible house. But also, yeah, I mean, possibly we need to be looking at this from a relationship angle as well, right? If a relationship kind of did not necessarily work well with Jupiter being in the sixth. Jupiter is the exalted ruler of your seventh. So it could indicate that we didn't fix something to do with the fun, the adventure, and all those type of things. Jupiter can magnify the problems in the seventh house. But also, if you have worked on those, Jupiter can bring engagement here, or we take the relationship to the next level, or even a certain type of renewal in the relationship. So I kind of love that for you, actually. Also, this could indicate that you are going to be making really great collaborations with others. You can actually win something as well. You can gain public attention. You can gain clients, as I said. And you can even learn a lot about yourself through the lenses of others. Now, so therefore, they might be sharing their opinion with you. I'd like to mention here, though, that, because Jupiter is still opposing, some of those opinions would not necessarily be something that we completely enjoy, though. The other thing is that if we have got certain type of business partnerships going on, then even it could indicate that we have got some type of problems in paradise. And the reason being is because do not forget that you also have got Saturn squaring your Jupiter. The entire 2024 almost did it, and the first 6, 7 months of 2025, it is continuous. Now in 25, it is happening actually between your third and the sixth house. So it looks like we had to be making improvements, for example, about internal communication, for example, or how we communicate with employees, or how employees are communicating their issues and problems and how productive they are. But also you had to be actually maybe communicate or fixing up your communication, how you talk to, for example, your partner or to your parents. Maybe it was all about rental agreements. I mean, the sixth house could represent your tenants. Maybe you have wanted to sell a property, for example, and so on. But then these two planets are shifting in the fourth and the seventh house. So this could indicate that maybe some of the challenges that you might be seeing in your relationship department is actually coming from the fact that you internally are not necessarily feeling too happy. And that gets projected onto any type of relationships that we have. If we are working on our self-identity at the core, then actually what you're going to see is that our relationships are going to grow quite significantly everywhere in our life. So this is telling you that it's time to negotiate. It's time, maybe it's a legal matter where you have to be negotiating. Maybe this is about just negotiations and compromising when it comes to my relationship. For example, where we want to move, what type of work we want to be doing, and all those type of matters. Because relocation could be a topic for you with Saturn being in your fourth house from the second part of 2025. And Jupiter is the natural significator of relocation, combined with Moon, especially. Maybe this is a legal case about a home. So, for example, you might have certain type of inheritance matter going on. Pluto, Mars in your second and eighth house could indicate that you are fighting over inheritance. And that inheritance matter is actually lead to a potential legal case. And that's where our hardships are coming from. Also, there could be some relationship patterns or problems that might be coming back from the past as well. Maybe this is kind of like a dispute connected to a home. So imagine that your partner thinks that they put more money into the home and then they want to get it back and so forth. So that Jupiter could be sending you, for example, people into your life who might be able to advise on these matters. So of course, this could be a lawyer. This could be anyone really who has got that certain type of wisdom. Jupiter in the seventh can bring you a lot of publicity as well on top of that. So I'm just wondering, with Saturn being in your fourth, do you actually feel confident enough to be public? And Capricorn, I mean, you are one of the greatest leaders of all, but you don't necessarily like being on in the spotlight. So maybe this is a discomfort for you that you're going to have to be able to stand up for yourself. Even sometimes you're going to have to show your vulnerability to others and so on. Now, of course, we are talking about the Jupiter and Saturn square. So this is pretty much leading me to talk about Saturn in the fourth house, especially because, well, I'm preparing you for 2025 and 26, even though Saturn is still lingering around your third house. So it really feels like that it's a compulsory literature for you to do the inner work, working on that foundation. Sometimes it's about facing family problems. Sometimes it's about facing the past. You're going to have to do that, especially if you are in the search of a relationship, Jupiter in the seventh. It's going to be so important that you figure out the emotional roots of your own existence, with that Saturn being in the fourth, alongside with Neptune and Venus as well, but I'm coming up onto that, so that your relationships can become a lot more successful. It's it's all about figuring out how to solidify your identity, Aries, as in your identity. It's about understanding to a certain extent where I came from and how does that affect me on a personal level. And then if you do that, when Saturn moves into your fifth house, you know what? It's going to become a lot easier to express who you are, and you are going to get the reward for all the hard work that you did on the internal changes that you are about to be making. Maybe it is about you feel like that the country that you live in is very difficult. But also you might show that, I'm kind of attached to where I am because maybe that's where my family is, or that's where my properties are. And there could be, yeah, attachment basically. So maybe this is about the vacillation, whether to sell a home or to relocate. Jupiter and Saturn are four signs away from each other, and the seventh house actually represents second residency as well. So maybe it's kind of like back and forth between two countries, two apartments, two cities, and all those type of stuff. Saturn is you, and it's squaring your Jupiter. This is also telling you that the reason why you do not grow is because you are your own worst enemy. And that is somehow rooted in your identity, in your family, in your inner foundation. So this year, on one hand, is surely about uh, inner healing. Yeah, as I said, this could bring you moving houses, for example, but maybe it's just a desire. Maybe it's actually, it feels like that where you live is kind of like suffocating, like dark or stuff like that, especially if you experience such things already with Saturn going through your third house, where your neighborhood has become kind of not toxic, but like difficult, or maybe the crime has increased and all those type of stuff. The fourth house is the house of endings as well. So it looks like there is here the endings and the rebirth. It's a big spring clean for you. And the spring clean starts from the moment of birth up to now. Life can feel very difficult, very calming with this aspect as well. You might feel like that, you know what, I only run into roadblocks, my life is difficult, I'm just blaming the parents and all those type of things. Saturn is kind of like the planet of family legacy, but also it represents conditioning as well. So outdated kind of like sentences that got stuck in your mind, and those need to be cleaned out, cut out completely. Now, another big shift that is happening for you is, of course, Uranus. And Uranus is going to be moving into your sixth house. It's back and forth between the fifth and the sixth. So what Uranus kind of indicates in your sixth house, on one hand, yes, there is definitely could be an indication of having chaos, for example, at your workplace. It could indicate that, nothing is organized. You are getting tired of the chaos. It can even indicate that you can get fired, for example. But also on top of that, this is an invitation to try maybe some unorthodox type of methods to fix your health up a little bit. You can have kind of like a miraculous recovery, but also you can have a sudden kind of like your immune system suddenly kind of collapses. And definitely another one with Uranus being here is that you might become accident prone, especially while Saturn is in the third house, where it says be cautious when you are driving or you are on a boat and all those type of things, because Uranus can actually cause certain type of accidents there. Maybe it's about you considering getting retired. Now, that's a possibility as well. Or maybe you are so excited, passionate, and so on about starting a new job. Now, as I said, the sixth house is definitely connected to skills. So it can represent work-related trainings, for example, or maybe, as I said, suddenly some of your employees are just leaving you, and then you're going to have to hire them. You're going to have to retrain them. You're going to have to actually hire new people and so forth. And even this could talk to you about that it's time to start your own business, especially if you have been thinking about it for a while Uranus was in your fifth house, but maybe you got stuck in your comfort zone. Um, Also, imagine situations. I mean, it highly depends on your age, of course, but imagine situations that for example, you are ready to retire, then how I am going to be managing my time? I mean, you've got a fourth house activation, which is end of everything. Uranus is in the sixth, so end of a job. What am I going to do with my own time? So on one hand, Uranus definitely in the fifth house wanted you to have hobbies. And I'm going to come on to Venus as well shortly in the sign of Aries, but that is the ruler of your hobby department. So maybe this wants you to kind of upgrade a little bit your health situation just by doing some group exercises. For example, Uranus rules like this cycling or any type of group activities really. So that could be also something to consider here. But because Uranus is the planet of freedom, it's time to find time, it feels like, in a way to enjoy life, and secondly, to find time to do things that is kind of like obligatory in your life as well, not necessarily kind of running a chaotic schedule. So it really feels like that upgrading your habits. I mean, Uranus also represents cutting chains. Like, let's say if you have been a chain smoker, smoking is very Pisces as well as Gemini interest. So you're a chain smoker, then Uranus might want you to be liberated from those bad habits. Now, as I mentioned, maybe I should have mentioned earlier, but Neptune is also part of the Saturnian matters in your fourth house. So Neptune is again in your home environment, triggering your family dynamics, your emotional world. And there is definitely this yearning for safety. There is this yearning for emotional support from others. And even it indicates that I want to make sense of like a spiritual sense of my own family dynamics or of my own home environment, what is actually happening there. And maybe we are trying to approach this from a spiritual perspective, which is not necessarily a problem, but Saturn is also telling you that it needs to be approached from a practical point of view, because they are forming a conjunction there. So that would be important. And also with Neptune, you are always yearning to be somewhere perfect. It's kind of like the sense of belonging. So I want to have my own family. And maybe Uranus, while it's going to be in your fifth house, is going to be granting you the opportunity to have your own children. And maybe your work colleagues, your employees are going to be your children, or potentially you might be able to give birth to a child as well. Now, the other very exciting part is actually Venus, which is going to be impacting you the entire year. So do not just think that Venus is retrograde for a couple of minutes and then it's all gone. We've got a new Venus star point starting in your fourth house, to be precise, on 2 degrees of Aries. So that's actually quite important. So what Venus pretty much wants you in the fourth house is to kind of find joy of being at home. So imagine that you wish to be working from home. Venus rules your career department, so that's highly possible. And maybe you have been planning this for a while. Now it is getting intensified that I would like to do that. Saturn says we can actually give shape and form to it. This could really, Venus also rules your fifth house. So welcoming a new child into your life. But also maybe you had a certain type of like severe connections with your children. So the children are actually coming back from the past. Whether they are coming for the right reason or the wrong reason, that's obviously another topic. Potentially, this could talk to you about you wanting to build a house, for example, you want to be selling a house, you want to get into real estate as well. You might want to be redecorating your home or Saturn, this is old houses. So buying up old houses and then I'm going to be redoing them and then maybe I'm going to be making money out of them. Because Venus is the ruler of the fifth. money made from properties. This could actually indicate quite a lot inheritance matters as well. I've seen this quite a lot actually with Venus going through the fourth house, that we are actually selling a house because we want to make money out of it. But it's Aries. That would kind of indicate that we're going to have certain type of kind of like disagreements or even fights. So this is the reason why inheritance matters are actually popping up in my mind. Maybe you want to do a quick seance, and then you are going to be bumping into a member of a family who says, no, it's worth more. Because obviously Venus is the planet of value and money, and Aries wants to make quick cash, but Venus is retrograde. So is it actually a good idea to make a quick decision, or we need to be doing a bit more kind of contemplation on that? And Saturn is telling you to slow down. You don't need to make a decision immediately. This could also indicate such things as I said, renovation, but also what is your connection to love and childhood, or what is your love connection to your family members? So, what I mean by that, do you feel appreciated? Do you feel loved? Do you feel supported by your own family? And this needs to be kind of reevaluated. Maybe we need to kind of create a stronger bond with the family. Venus will be back into the sign of Pisces, which is the sign connected to forgiveness. So another question that is popping up here is whether I am going to be able to say sorry to someone, or I am going to be able to maybe even say thank you for giving me life, or are you able to forgive someone? And it really feels like, even with the Jupiter and Saturn square, that mental health matters are going to be very important for you in the next potentially quite a few years, though. This could also indicate that you are having to take care of a family member, for example. So there might be certain type of medical issues with a parent of yours, which with Saturn it's a burden, but of course with Neptune we want to be in service to others, and then Venus is all about because it's my loved one, right? So I have to be there for them. But this is still bringing you certain type of challenges with Saturn being there as well. Uh, Imagine that a loved one is actually moving back into your home. Or imagine that maybe someone left your home already and then they are going to return to you. So, like a child, for example, who might be going through some Uranian situations, like a breakup, a breakdown, and so forth. And then they are going to be coming back to you, which some of you will be very happy, I guess, but some of you, it might experience it as a burden with Saturn being there. And then the last but not least big change for you is actually connected to the nodes, which are shifting into your third and ninth house. This is very much about, again, something to do with communication, learning, studying, and maybe again, you are going to be studying something new so that you can create a better profession for yourself. This could talk to you about, yeah, even teaching, or kind of like with that sixth house triggers, you're writing up a training manual, or you're going to finally become somehow a teacher. And then you are kind of working on those skills using some, again, technological methods, for example, to be able to enhance that teaching experience. But these are also mental houses. So you see how the mental houses are triggered for you. So I would ask you whether you are looking after yourself on a mental level. That would be really important. This is telling you to broaden your mind, to have a lot more ideas, to be open-minded, to be a little bit more adventurous, and even to dare to dream. So exciting year ahead of us, I believe. And I would say that it can be all fantastic if you just, you know, especially with that Neptune, Saturn, and Venus, if you work on the emotional and internal foundation. Be realistic about where you are with it. You know, whether you are in the right country, whether you are in the right home. Don't question or don't blame, because often with Neptune, we are blaming the family. So don't blame the family for your own failure. This is actually telling you that potentially you have to be facing up that it was also part, the failure is part, some part of it belongs to you pretty much. So realism. So Saturn, it feels like it's a little bit of a guiding light or force here for Neptune and Venus, who might be just yearning and greedy for something brilliant. And Saturn is showing a mirror up there. So, guys, thank you very much for your attention, and I will see you soon. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And if you need further guidance, I'm here. Go on my website, AstroViktor.com, and book your reading right now. Take care. Bye bye.